Welcome to Ask the Amigos. This is Discord's burning questions and our somewhat lukewarm answers. So we start things off with Laurent Giroux, and our favorite Montrealite. He asks, what kind of game genre do you think are underrepresented on the Amiga and deserve some more love?
Underrepresented on the Amiga and deserves some more love. That is a good question. Why don't you go first? Let me ponder for a minute.
Well, I'll tell you this. I can only speak from games that we've covered on the show.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, board games are woefully underrepresented on the Amiga. As far as I know, there's no Monopoly, there's no Clue, there's no traditional
I think there is
board
Clue.
game.
I think Cluedo's on there.
If there is, we haven't played it.
Well, we haven't played it, yeah.
Okay.
But I think it does exist.
And so that's what I'd like to see more of. I'd like to see more sort of adaptations of classic board games on the Amiga.
I would like to see more wrestling games. I'd like to have any wrestling that isn't garbage. Would be on top, near the top of my list. Sports games in general, I find that there's plenty of soccer games. Before there aren't. I mean, when I say this, there are some representations, but they're not good.
Right.
Thank God for TV Sports Basketball because the other offerings not so good. Baseball, I don't know if there's a good one on there.
Not that I've played.
Sports, so I would say the sports genre is underrepresented. Now, of course, I'm an American, but we've played the darts offerings.
I can tell you, even as somebody not a big fan of, or not that doesn't know much about cricket, I could tell that Graham Gooch's cricket was not an excellent game.
I was going to say cricket and darts, the games that are traditionally European, weren't exactly what I would call outstanding either. So I would say sports games, both. Sports games.
Pajako asks, what awesome game from the past was actually not that great when you went back to it years later?
Well, WrestleManiac would be near the top of the list. Having just played that was quite bad. I remember most of the games I played back then because I never stopped playing them. So I don't really have a good answer for that. I mean, I've enjoyed most of the stuff that I went back and played. Some of it didn't quite hold up. Like, I'll give you an example, Neuromancer, as much as I love that game. Going back to play it, I remembered some things I didn't like about it before, but mainly what I liked about it before was the BBS parts of it. I thought that was really cool. But like graphically and in terms of the engine that drove the game, it could have been better.
Yeah. So
I will say that.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I play games, for the most part, I always go back to games that I played when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because it's all part of the nostalgia. And for me, most of the games that I liked when I was a kid, I still like. I would say 80% or higher.
Yeah.
That said, going back to play the original Legend of Zelda, not a party, not great. Also, the original Final Fantasy. In both of those games, it's just because the genre advanced so much that going back to play those original games, it's just like, what am I doing here? Why do I bother?
Which is probably why people like me poo-poo those games, because you look at those, if you were a kid when the original Zelda came out, and you look at it when you're like 30, you're like, what is this?
Right.
Hitting what? Do what? This seems lame. And if everybody's going bananas over it, you can't figure out why. Well, that's part of it, because they grew up with it. It was new when they played it the first time, and they've been around to watch the genre mature. So they've got a start point and they know where it's going, so they're more likely to be cool with the old version because they understand, whereas someone like myself is not.
Right. David Hearn Ryder asks, what was your favorite text adventure game on the Amiga?
Well, on the Amiga we haven't played we played more than just one.
We played a ton. They're a staple of our Halloween programming.
No, he didn't say graphical text, he said text. And now we don't think we've ever played one that was strictly text.
Yeah, but he's implying that you played games on the Amiga outside of the show.
Well, I did all my text. You got to think the Amiga, by the time the Amiga came out, I did all my text playing was over. It was on the Coco.
Right.
I played the Zorks, the Wizardries. I think if I had to pick one that I enjoyed the most, it would probably be, I even on the Coco, I didn't like them that much, to be honest with you. Maybe Bedlam or on the Coco would be one, but I didn't play that many text games ever in my whole life. I just didn't get into them that much.
I didn't play any. I don't think I've ever played a strictly text adventure on the Amiga. It seems like by the time you got to the 16-bit era, if you weren't throwing in graphics, then I mean, what are you doing? But on the Atari, which is where I played most of my text adventures, I always liked the ones that came in Antic magazine. because they were short. You could complete them. A lot of the Zorks and things like that, they were so big that you just felt like you'd never get through them. And the ones in Antic, they were meant to be completed in about a half an hour or so. And there'd always be one or two puzzles that sort of made you think. But I always, this still continues to this day. I would much rather have a game that's a little bit too easy that I can beat and go back to versus one that it's so hard I don't have a prayer of finishing it.
I was just thinking, if I had to go back and think of where I did play tons of text games, just occurred to me, BBSs. I played like Solar Realms Elite, stuff like that. Those were all text-based. They were fun, but they're not conventional Infocom style text games. Again, it's something I just was never drawn to. I don't know why. I know people still love them to this day. I don't get into them.
Yeah. Chris Folds asks, which TV or film franchise do you love that you think would have made a great point-and-click adventure?
Oh, geez. Well, again, point-and-click adventure is not necessarily my bag.
Your bag is very small.
It is. Well, no, it's just, what can I say? Some of the ones have already been done. Listen, something like Star Trek. I'll tell you what would be the good one. I used to watch a show called Wild Wild West. I love that show. And it was wacky.
Will Smith.
And it had, no, don't start. And it had set pieces and characters and stuff that would have blended quite nicely into a graphical text adventure. And you could go on a big epic adventure because it's the Old West, you know. I think that would have been a real cool one to do. So I'm going to say that.
What I would have liked to have seen, remember how we covered Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? And they took certain things from the movie and they put them in there, but there were other things that weren't in the movie, and they kind of changed it up. I would love to see the same thing done with the Goonies. I think that would be
the Goonies is one. And the Goonies Roy didn't get a very good turn on the old video game.
No. David Z asks, what is the strangest thing you ever did to stay warm?
Well, I used to live up on Mud Mountain. We had baseboard heat. I say we, I mean me. Baseboard heat up on the mountain, which sucked.
Yeah,
and
baseboard heat's
and
good.
the building, the Mud Mountain, the house itself was made of big blocks, big stone blocks. They can't even get these things anymore. So the insulation was, how we say, slight. So it was ice box levels of cold up there. What I used to do is, and the thing is, here's my preference. I don't like to wear pants. I like to wear shorts and no socks. Because I'm from West Virginia. So I was more than happy to wear whatever else was around to keep me warm. So probably the oddest thing that people would think was strange. I used to wear my graduation robe most of the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that where the sleeping tunic came from? Mud Mountain?
It is sort of similar to that.
Well, I was going to say...
No, I didn't have it up there.
Oh, you didn't have it up there.
No, I used to wear my graduation robes. And I told you that. I'm sure one time I mentioned this. When I was fighting Cooney out in the porch, but the raccoon that wouldn't get out of my roof, I was out there in my underwear, that graduation robe, and a fur hat. and no shoes, and I was at a broomstick, and I was punching the top of the roof, and it was icy, and it was snowy, and I fell down and came an ace and paled myself. And I thought to myself, what a strange way. What would happen if people found me right now?
You'd definitely be covered on WSAZ that night.
So I would definitely say the graduation robe. I didn't think it was that odd, because the thing is, you've got them sitting around.
That's true.
So that's what I use.
I've got a couple of marching band uniforms on my bundle up there.
Man, I would not wear those on a bed. What about you?
Probably peeing in a wetsuit. You ever wear a wetsuit before?
No.
So
what a stupid question that is. Why would I wear a wetsuit?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I was competing one time,
well, when we went on the old Greenbrier River, it was the Greenbrier River, it's the New River, one of the whitewater rafting trips we went on.
New River, yeah.
We went into the place and they were like, all right, here's the wetsuits, put one on, and they were like, if you get cold, just pee in it. And I was like, man, that sounds great. It's like you can pee and nobody knows, and it's encouraged. So I did it, and it does make you warm, because the wetsuit like traps that heat inside your body.
You're wallowing in your own excrement.
Listen, I didn't think about it that way.
Okay. That's a story I'm not even going to touch. I'm sure the people that wear that after you get out of the wetsuit are real happy you did that.
I didn't ask about what happened to the wetsuits. I don't know.
Think about the people, the 100 people before you did it pissed in it, and then now you've got it.
Urine sterile, man.
Do you go around stepping in it for fun?
Not always.
Okay. Move along.
So I've also draped a dog across me when I couldn't.
Living dog.
Yeah, me and my buddy Logan used to go up in the woods and spend the night in his house. He lives out Charlie's Creek, And there used to be these dogs that used to go up there with us and like spend the night with us. And one night, this was the night we knew we shouldn't have done it. It was too cold, and we were so cold. I took one of the dogs, and he was asleep, and I just sort of draped him across my shoulders. So yeah, there's that.
You're quite a hillbilly, aren't you?
I am. Mitsuyama asks, you have one golden ticket that enables you to see a music group or artist, past or present, perform a live concert. Who do you see, and at what stage of their career do you see them?
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Holy smokes. I mean, that's a question, isn't it? Recent events, of course, I saw Meatloaf live in concert, probably at the height of his talent. So that crossed off my list. He would have been up there, and it was a great show. I'm going to be so cliche. Because there's two bands that popped into my mind immediately, okay? ABBA, at the peak of their awesomeness, at the peak of their hotness, up on stage. And that's close. Mm-hmm. They're also in the news. But I hate to say it so generic, but it'd be, because I just watched that miniseries, it'd be the Beatles. There's going to be no doubt.
It's hard to argue with that.
And the thing is, it would be, I can even pick the show it would be, and it would probably be one of their early shows. Like at the Cavern, maybe the first one that Ringo sat in on with the Beatles, when their no good layabout drummer who sucked was, decided not to show up that night, or the night they hired Ringo. And not because I'm a big Ringo fan, which I am, but just because that's when they all said they felt it. The magic happened.
Right.
That'd be fun. It's funny, I don't really like a ton of the early Beatles stuff, the real bubblegummy stuff. So, and the thing is, they didn't tour too much after that. It's not like they were out doing a lot of live performances after they did that early stuff. And so, I mean, when you pick up the documentary, they're pretty much done touring at that point.
They'd been done touring for 3 years.
That's my point.
So,
And that's the year I really like that stuff probably the most.
Right.
So, it would be fun to be on the rooftop, but that was such a short performance.
Right.
But you could tell everyone from now until the end of time you were there.
Right.
So that one comes to mind. But I think, because there's footage of that, I think I would go way back to see what they were like.
If I was going to go see the Beatles, I'd go see them when they were performing in Germany.
That's what I'm talking about.
At the bars in Germany.
At the Cavern, that the underground thing used to play in. I would probably go there.
That was their image had already started to soften when they played at the Cavern. But when they used to play and there were beer bottles flying, I mean, it was like the scene in Blues Brothers.
That's before Ringo was there.
But still, that's what I would have liked to have seen, because they weren't playing a whole lot of bubblegum stuff there. They were playing the hard stuff, Jerry Lee Lewis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's not my answer.
All right.
My answer, up until 10 years ago, I said, I'm done going to concerts unless Bowie comes to town or Prince comes to town. Well, guess what? They're not coming to town anymore.
No.
I missed out. I missed my window. Those are the two acts that I'd love to see live, Bowie and Prince.
My buddy saw Bowie, and he said it was awesome, and he didn't get me a ticket. I'll never forgive him for that.
David Z asks, what's the strangest thing you ever did to try and cool down when it was too hot?
Dave's is some weird stuff. Well, Mud Mountain only had one air conditioner for the whole house. And so in the summer, those stones acted like a brick oven. And you died up there. It was brutally hot in the house. I mean, you could turn on a crap load of fans. I can't think of anything really revolutionary that I did to stay cool. You're pretty much just boned.
Yeah.
So
I can tell you this. When I was in Thailand last time, and I got sick because I didn't drink enough water, and I was laying there in Eep's parents' house, my in-laws' house, no air conditioning.
Yeah. And
it's Thailand, and it's summer.
Yeah.
And that is as hot as I've ever been, and I was also suffering from heat stroke.
Yeah.
So and when you get hot, when you get cold, it seems like there's a whole lot of ways to get warmer when you're cold. But when you're hot, once you start disrobing, that's it. That's all you can do. I mean, you're stuck. So I would much rather be in a situation where I'm a little bit too cold than a little bit too hot.
Not me. I'd rather be hot. And you're right, but I still hate being cold so much. I hate it. Yeah. I'm used to being hot.
Chris Folds asks, do you like water parks? I'll answer first. No, I hate them, and I'll tell you why. When I was in 8th grade, I went to Kings Island, and I went down the log flume first thing, and then I was walking around with wet jeans the rest of the day, and the times they were a-chafing.
Yes. But that's not, at a water park, presumably, you would have one swimming attire.
But still, I mean, like, if you're walking around in a wet bathing suit all day, it's not going to be good.
It is a trial. We've been to Great Wolf Lodge many times, myself and the boy. He loves it up there. They love it too because they're getting paid big money.
Great Wolf, explain that because I don't even know what
Great
that
Wolf
is.
Lodge is an indoor water park that's attached to the hotel.
Okay.
And so the convenience of it is you go and be in the water park, and then when you get sick of that, and there's no ticketing or anything, you just walk back up to your room.
I see.
And
I
so
bet that's expensive.
That's the way you do it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, well, here's the thing: like, if it's a night there, it's like $150 or whatever. But you're also getting the whole day to be at the water park.
Oh, that's not as bad as I thought. It'd be double that.
Well, it gets higher depending on when you go.
Okay.
So I would say I'm not the biggest fan. I was never a big fan, to be honest with you. So I would say not a big fan. I went to one when I was in the band. We went to one near Cincinnati, and it didn't do it for me. I thought I was going to die a couple times too. But
Ricky DeRocher asks, if you were stuck on a desert island with a solar-powered Amiga and can only have 2 games to play, what would they be?
A solar-powered Amiga.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun, wouldn't it? 2 games, because that really narrows it down.
And I guess you're going to be alone, so.
One of them would be Wings, because it's multiple games in one.
Okay.
And I love the game, and I'm comfortable with it, so I could be that. Now, the second game, let me think about the second one. You name your first one.
This would be the time when I'd finally give my all to try and get into Settlers. Because everybody loves that game, and I did not see the appeal when we played it for the show. So I would have all eternity ahead of me to recognize the glory.
I think the second game I might pick, and it's funny, it's not my favorite game, but it would probably be something like Elite 2 Frontier, where you could sit down and infinitely play it. So that one would be on my. That would probably be there.
I didn't think about that, but that just moved into the number 2 slot for me.
Yeah, because that's one you can play forever, and you can get in there and you name stuff and whatever. So that'd be the one.
All right. David Hearn Ryder asks, have you played the awesome Supercars 2 AGA remake yet?
No, I have not. Now, I have played Supercars 3, the PC remake, which was great. If the Amiga one's anywhere near as good, that'll be something. But I've seen video. I don't usually, this sounds counterproductive, but I don't usually play stuff like that because I assume at some point we'll play it on the show, and I like to come in fresh. So I usually don't play the newer stuff. Yeah. I want to desperately, but I try to avoid it.
I'm the same. Dave, Atari ST, a.k.a. Dave Velociraptor, asks, what games are you looking forward to Jack Flack covering on Like a DOS?
We actually, it's funny, I'm so happy he's doing that because we had a cup of coffee with the thought of doing a DOS show, years ago. And both of us weren't the biggest fans of DOS
I'm
gaming.
Just not, not a DOS
It's funny,
guy.
DOS gaming has come back with a vengeance. It's funny, when people want to talk about DOS games, I get excited. But I think of DOS games, everything from 95 back, okay? And really, let's say 98 back, because that's when they got rid of once Windows 98 left, there was no more DOS, effectively, as we knew it. But if you go to 95 back, you're in, for the majority of the time, you're there competing against machines like the Amiga, and you're gonna lose. And from 90 back, you're gonna lose badly. Then there's that era, the Syndicate era, I like to call it, where you all of a sudden, here's Syndicate, here's a better version of Theme Park, here's Magic Carpet, here's that Doom comes out, and all of a sudden, then you got something else. So a lot of the games I remember from that era are my favorites. So listen, I love One Must Fall. It would be a great game. I'd like to see that one get covered. Rise of the Triads, one I used to play a lot. I'd like to see that one get covered. There are good Death Race. There's plenty of good DOS games, but sometimes you've got to put on the super, super rose-tinted glasses to get through them, because anything from like the Booter era, I've been around for a long time, so I was there for the entire maturation of DOS, and it had a long way to go, brother. I can tell you that right now. Plus all the annoyance of getting the stuff to work. Something we don't have to do on the Amigos, for example, or the Spectrum, is we don't have to actually make the games work for the most part. It's not like having a real DOS machine. It's not like an Amiga where there's only so many bits of hardware you're going to have. You had to get all that IRQs, sound settings, and all this crap. The joystick didn't work. It was a huge pain in the butt that you avoid from stuff like the Amiga, the ST. So I don't have super fond memories, but I DOS gamed a ton. I will say that. But it's a mixed bag.
I'm looking forward to the EGA stuff. I think that, I don't know, aside from like Sierra games, what else was going on during the EGA era. I know that overlapped with the Amiga some, but not a whole lot because the Amiga just, during that era looked so much better.
Yep.
So I'll be interested to see that, and also to a lesser extent, the CGA Hercules era.
I wouldn't get too excited about either of those eras. I'll be honest with you. The EGA really it wasn't around for like a decade. It wasn't around that long.
Right.
And the CGA era was around way too long. Yeah.
Chris Folds asks, if you were to form a band, what would you name the band?
I'm sure you've been in bands. I'm sure, haven't you? What, have you ever had any good names?
Well, the name of my band was The Hinge.
Oh, that's pretty good. Who come up with that?
That was our singer and songwriter. Yeah, he called us The Hinge.
Well, let's come up with names right now. Okay. You got 2 seconds, go.
I'm not good at this.
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
Mystery Meat. Bam. That's my band.
All right, I'll join it.
No, you have to come up with your name. Go. You got 2 seconds, go.
Asinine Fools.
That's a... Bam. That sounds like a double bill right there. We could be playing the punk show down the street right now.
David Hearn, writer, asks, Outback Jack versus Jake the Snake.
Who asked this?
David Hearn, writer.
Okay.
Listen, there's a lot of people that want to know your thoughts on this. Who would you back for the win?
It's funny because I answered this I wasn't paying attention and I answered this on the site. Now I erased my answer when I realized where I was at. I do that all the time, by the way. Outback Jack versus Jake the Snake. What was the rest of that?
Who would you back for the win?
Oh. Well, in a real fight, I don't know. That'd be Outback Jack, he wasn't around that long. Who even remembers him? I'm stunned that somebody remembers who that is.
Was he early 80s?
It'd be later 80s. He was a guy that they brought in. He was horrible. I remember his finisher was the boomerang, of course.
Yeah.
And he clotheslined in the back.
Was he a real Australian?
Yeah, he was real Australian. He was a big oaf of a guy that wasn't very good. Jake was a tall, good physique, good worker who was a grade A mind for promos. They could deliver a promo. Like on the flip side, Jake was also out of his mind.
Right.
So I would go with Jake. In fact, there is no comparison between the two, except they're both men. And I don't know enough about Jack to know how real he could have been out of his mind as well. So I'm going to pick the devil I know. Literally, I'd pick Jake. Jake was 100 times better than Outback Jack. Although Outback Jack's theme song was Tie Me Kangaroo Down.
Oh,
now in terms of theme song, there's your winner.
I wonder if they licensed that.
He'd be like, "Good day, mate. My name's Outback Jack. I'm coming to the WWF." That was his shtick.
Pajako asks, No, it's just a the with an extra E. The Federation the Federation against software piracy is banging at your door. They know you've pirated floppies and cassettes. You've got like 5 minutes to destroy it all.
Yeah.
How are you doing it?
Magnets.
Not me.
Yeah, I got tons of magnets around.
Swallow it.
You're not gonna swallow the amount of stuff I've pirated. You're not gonna be swallowing the amount of stuff you pirated either.
You never know. I think I could do it.
Listen. You get the magnets out. Then I had the big bulk erase magnet. You ever had one of those?
Does it look like a big horseshoe?
You ever heard Flag talk about when he thought he got busted for he might get in trouble for piracy?
But I've forgotten the story.
But I mean, he panicked. Listen, we all had the thought that it could happen eventually. For a long time, I didn't know it was illegal. I was just like, I'll do what I want. And then when I found out, they get you. I had a plan, and I had secret areas in my room. I thought I might be to stash stuff. But
where was one of the secret areas?
That was the closet, for example.
Nobody'd ever checked there, man.
Or under the bed. I wasn't a master criminal back in them days.
It's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. Pixels at Dawn writes, "What game deserves better packaging or box art, and what would it be?"
I would say the Sega Master System karate game comes to mind. Black Belt. That's got the worst art ever. Just a foot. Yeah. So it should have, I used to take karate from a guy whose name was Don Madden. Okay? Master Don, we called him. And he was, I'll never forget this guy.
He was on the sketchy side, right?
No, he was okay. This is way back when I was a kid.
Okay. And when you knew him later, he became
his subordinate guy was the second black belt was this guy named John Cottrell. The thing they had in common, they were these two dopey, pasty, tubby white guys, right? And they looked like they were straight out of like the 70s. Like they were the heavies for a kung fu guy. Big tubby guys in these gis. They got these huge gis. those are the guys that should be facing off of the cover.
That would be great.
Because that game's not the best, and so you don't want to put 2 ninjas. You don't want to put Ashoka Suzuki on the front of the case. Somebody like that taking on Beta Jet Arquidez. And these guys are, by the way, I fought Cottrell and Madden, and they beat my brains out because these guys were death machines.
Right. They also ran their own karate school.
They look like tubby guys that might come up to you with a stein, hey, or eating a greasy pork sandwich, hey, with a cigar. And those are the kind of guys I want to see on the cover.
Whatever happened to Master Don?
I don't know. I assume he's still whooping that butt.
You reconnected with him later on in life.
No, I never saw him again.
That
was a whole different guy.
But his name was also Master Don.
His name was Master Don as well, yeah.
That is insane that you've known 2 Master Dons in your life.
Yeah, that's a whole different guy. Oh, man, I don't want him on the cover. Let's not even talk about him.
I've done my whole life thinking that Master Don was the other Master Don.
Two of them, two different masters. Master!
I'm going to go with the perennial favorite of this question, the original Mega Man artwork. Old knobbly Mega
that
Man.
geek that they got on there. That is a classic bad. We've actually picked the 2 most softball answers.
Yeah.
But they both deserve it. They're both horrible.
Yeah. The opposite question is, what packaging or box art deserved a better game?
That's a more difficult question, isn't it? I'm trying to think of some of the best boxes I've seen.
I'd say all the Psygnosis games.
No. Oh, well, I mean, listen, there are some.
Because, I mean, when you think about the artwork on, really any of them. Shadow of the Beast.
Yeah, but Shadow of the Beast, when you open that up, you were not disappointed. You're like, oh my God, it was it was everything there to tickle your senses.
It deserved a better game.
Well, I'm just saying, that's not a dud. Look at me and Brent reviewed the game that Bandersnatch eventually became.
Right.
Okay, that one comes to mind. It had cool guy box art. Baraticus was the name of it. Well, it was Crapicus. Okay, that game's the one where you control with the mouse. It's a disaster. Okay, so I'm going to pick that. Braticus, I think was the name of it.
I'm going to pick Castle Quest for the NES. Castle Quest has some of the best box art. It's this spectacular looking castle. The game is no good.
Yeah,
it's no good.
It happens. But you're not wrong. But the Psygnosis, they always had the awesome art.
Yeah.
Now
in game and without.
The game, you never know what you're going to get. They had a lot of good ones, though. You're too mean to them.
Paul asks a pertinent question, given your advanced age. Have you ever left any instructions as to what will happen to your collections after your death? Are you concerned about having items of value that may just look like junk to others ending up in the landfill?
They will. They absolutely will, because there are things in my collection that no one knows the value of unless it's... And the thing is, if I said, like, Boat, take care of this collection. Well, there's stuff in there you wouldn't understand because they're so... they're not in your genre of interest.
Sure, yeah.
All right?
Yes.
And so, like comic books and stuff you wouldn't really know about. So I guess the short answer is no. It's in the works. I have instructed my brother, of all people, to take care of certain things, but... here's the thing. We talk about this when it comes to inheritance and stuff like that. Let's say I gave all my stuff to the Luke. All right, and here's Luke. He's 12 years old. I don't know. Gosh, I hope I don't pass away anytime soon.
I hope not either.
But if it happened, you had to throw the advanced age part, by the way, before you got this question. So anyway, I'll get to you. But Luke doesn't care about 70 to 80% of my stuff. All right, not yet. Maybe he someday will, but maybe not. And I've known people that had loved ones pass away, and they inherited all the crap, and they didn't want to need any of it. I mean, my buddy's mom passed away, and he got drawers and drawers and drawers of hairspray and old furniture from the 70s, and all of her mail, and all of the stuff she used to listen to, 8 tracks and crap, and he didn't want any of it. Her china and stuff like that. Right. And so, what happens? That ultimately it goes through the estate sale,
right?
I
don't think it immediately goes to a landfill.
It filters down.
And again, this may be different in different countries, but in this country, when that happens, basically you get a company to come in, they open your house, and you walk through the person's house, and whatever you want, you say how much you want for that, and the estate sale person says $10 or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm assuming that the Brent will take care of me. But yeah, I do have something in the works, or I'm going to ultimately have a will. I'm assuming you do as well.
I have. Chad is actually legally my executor.
Oh, okay,
Chad.
very good.
Of all of the stuff that he doesn't want to keep, he will take it because he is an eBay reselling machine.
Yeah,
he knows what stuff is worth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good idea.
Chris Folds asks, have either of you tried to learn to dance? Well, first of all, I didn't have to try to learn. I just came out of the womb that way.
Yeah, you should try to learn to sing. It'd be what I would say.
One day.
Tried to learn to dance. Well, they make us learn in this area.
Mm-hmm.
We had to learn how to square dance. We had to learn how to clog to a certain degree. Yes, clog or tap, or what you want to do. So yes, they forced us to learn. But no, aside from that, I've not went out of my way to try to learn to dance.
Yeah, I went through a stage in my life where I really wanted to get good at the robot.
Really?
But of course, this was before YouTube or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I just looked at myself in the mirror, looking lame, doing the robot, and that was the extent of my training.
Yeah, I'd say you mastered it and use it in your presentations to this very day.
Pixels at Dawn asks, purely as a listener, what subjects would you like to see someone else tackle in a podcast so you could consume them yourselves?
Well, Flack nailed the one. That's something I thought we've needed for a while. It's funny, we started this show strictly on the basis that no one else was doing an Amiga show, and I was pissed off about it. So there is a precedent to it. No one does a review show on old radio shows. I know that sounds redundant, but I think that would be a lot of fun. And like a behind the scenes for the episode, which I think that'd be a lot of fun. There's one I've been dying to do, and I've mentioned this before, is a show about the British anthology show Tales of the Unexpected. I love that show, which had a revival in the past 5 years. And I've got all the shows, I've seen them all, and I've wanted to do a show about Tales of the Unexpected because I've shared it with a lot of my friends. It's just something I've never done. There's already shows on Twilight Zone, some other big shows. It'd be nice to see one. I'm assuming Tales of the Unexpected, it doesn't have the following over there that I would think. Otherwise, someone would have done it.
It is odd because that show...
And it ran for a long
time. For me, I practice the sword martial art Iaido.
Yeah.
There's no Iaido podcasts. I'd love to listen to one.
What would you talk about on that show?
Well, you'd interview practitioners.
What'd be better is
from different schools.
You said, like this week on the Iaido podcast, we talked to swordsman Bill, and he's like, yeah, he gets, what's in the news? Like, well, last week I gutted a dude. That would be cool. Yeah. I cut a guy from stern to stem.
If you've killed a man with a sword this week, write in. We'd love to hear your story.
That would be. See, that's what I want to hear.
Duncan Stiles says, lid yogurt. What do you do with yours? Do you scoop it off and mix it back in the pot, or do you scoop it and eat it, or you just lick it off?
I know what I do. I take that lid, the yogurt, the whole package of yogurt, and toss it in the garbage.
You don't eat yogurt?
God, no. Are you kidding me? Yogurt?
What if I put yogurt in a tube and allow you to suck it out?
That's what? You think sucking something makes it better?
Like Go-Gurt.
No.
That's the whole thing behind Go-Gurt.
Listen, if it's frozen yogurt, I'm good to go-gurt. But otherwise, no-gurt.
I eat a lot of Greek yogurt.
Oh, yeah?
And I've gone through several experimentations with Greek yogurt because I buy it in bulk. I buy a big liter of it.
Really?
And what happens is if you leave it in the fridge, all the liquid rises to the top. And at first I was like, well, I like my yogurt real thick. And so every time that would happen, I would pour the liquid out. And by the time you get to the bottom, what you have is the consistency of concrete. The yogurt is so hard that it physically sticks in your throat as you try and swallow it. And I almost died, choking on it. So I decided that was a bad idea. So when I get the lid yogurt, what I do is I give it the old lick, just all around it. Because I'm the only one eating the yogurt. Eve's not big on yogurt.
No.
What actually she does, she just likes different kinds of
Let me ask you a question about this yogurt. Are you eating the yogurt for the health reasons or because you genuinely think it's delicious?
I genuinely think it's delicious.
All right, that doesn't surprise me. You should do a podcast just on that. And please never make that licking thing, and don't ever do that again.
That's in my romance podcast.
I think I heard 27 people unsubscribe the second you did that.
Duncan Stiles asks, do you trust Trustpilot and similar rating systems?
I don't know what that is.
It's like a site that tells you if the site you're looking at is legit in terms of what they're selling.
I don't trust nobody but my own intuition, web intuition. So no.
Yeah, I don't trust anything that says trust me online.
No, that's Jake the Snake used to say that too.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Dave Atari ST asks, "You're not always complimentary about West Virginia. So for a change, tell us something West Virginia does right that nowhere else in the world
We're
gets
complimentary of West Virginia a lot, aren't we?
We're not always.
But I mean, you can't compliment someone when they botch it.
Right.
I'll tell you one thing they do well here: they tax us, and so but the upside of that is we've got a big old windfall, like extra wad in the old tax. We're one of the few states around that are in the black.
Mm-hmm.
Who'd have thunk it, Bo?
Yeah, that is one thing that West Virginia does well is we have a balanced budget.
Yeah. Another thing we do well here in the state, we have some very nice festivals,
Mm-hmm.
and they're of a different flavor than you're going to catch in a lot of places because they've got a West Virginia spin to them, which is nice. Listen, we've got a decent setup for like bringing in conventions and stuff to the bigger cities. There's some. They've just upgraded the Civic Center, which is nice. So you can have a decent little.
Right.
A little
but the question
there.
is, what is something that West Virginia does right that nowhere else in the world gets right?
Nowhere else in the world.
Right. Nowhere else in the world.
God, I hate to go with the patterned answer on this stuff. Pepperoni roll would come to mind. Where was the last time you had a good pepperoni roll in Detroit?
You know, I don't see the appeal of the pepperoni roll.
Oh man, they're good.
It's a freaking roll. It's a piece of bread with pepperoni stuck in the middle of it.
No. You don't. You obviously don't get it.
And I've had the original pepperoni rolls. They come from Fairmont, where my brother-in-law is from.
Hey, listen. You know where you get them? Is go up here to the Winfield exit here, and that restaurant down there that's behind. You know, it's right beside.
Are you talking about Fat Patty's?
No, the place beside it. They do a pepperoni roll there. It's really good.
Beside Fat Patty's?
Yeah, the other restaurant.
Oh, Riverside.
That's
Fireside.
right, Fireside. They do a good one there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what do we do? I'd say the tax thing. It's the only thing I can think of that we do better. Because we're in the black, and like Kentucky, not in the black. They're boned.
Right. Yeah, I agree. You know, actually, here's something else that West Virginia does right that not a lot of other places in the world get right.
What?
In the Western world. I'm a teacher. Okay,
yeah.
I'm a middle school band director.
Yeah,
and I can live in a house, and not just like a tiny, like halfway attached to another house, row house. I've got a legit house that I can afford on my teacher salary.
Yeah,
you can't do that in all the other places that I've lived in Europe and in Asia.
That's because no one wants to live here, Boat.
What? I'm telling you something that West Virginia does right.
They're getting hosed up. I think we're getting ready to get hosed up by people out of state buying up our property.
We've already got our houses. We're already in.
That's true. The property values keep going up, don't they?
Bartbit asks, if you were forced to go on American Idol, what would you perform?
We would probably just go up as an act, right? Hello, people in American Idol. We're going to be reviewing, Top Banana.
I think we've got to sing. American Idol's a singing show.
You can still do your Patreon song at some point.
Okay, what would you sing?
I'm not going to sing. Maybe I would just dance.
Maybe we'll do Me and My Shadow.
No.
Me and My Shadow. We'll bring back the vaudeville. That's what they want. They want the old vaudeville acts with all the ethnic humor.
I did that Barbie stream a couple weeks ago. And that Barbie girl song's done by Africa called Aqua, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever watch their videos, there's a chick that does all the singing, and then there's this guy. He's like sort of like
he's like the
Fred,
guy in B-52s.
Yeah, he's like, oh scum baby, oh yeah. He's got this real husky, which I could do that guy's stuff.
Does he really say,
"Come
oh,
on, Barbie,
baby?
let's go party"? That guy,
right?
He does that in every song.
You know that sort of died with the B-52s, and I guess this band. What is the name of that band?
Aqua.
Yeah. We need more of that.
The biggest band in the history of the biggest Danish band in history. Bam. Aqua. I learned a lot from the Barbie show, Bo.
That's good.
Yeah. Don't do those.
This is my favorite question of the month. Chris Folds asks, pick one of the following days out. Okay? 1. Beer and snooker with Jimmy White.
Oh.
2. Drinks and darts with Jockey Wilson.
Okay. Oh, man.
3. Pie, mash, pint of ale, sing-song in an old West End pub.
See, I would go pub, but it had to have the pub games going on. So I would eliminate that.
Well, okay, here's the thing.
What's the one, Jockey Wilson? What's he having to eat?
Drinks and darts with Jockey Wilson.
I would pick that one. And because Jimmy White, he's a good-looking guy, nice suit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little
You're
more
afraid
upscale.
that the girls would be drawn to him, and you'd be left out.
I
as the
figure
third
compared
wheel.
to Jockey, like you might get some play.
That's true.
Plus, it's going to be hot and heavy craziness going on there because, jockey used to party.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, you can get pie mashed and a pint of ale and a sing-song. That seems like something that would be easy to find. But drinks and darts with Jockey Wilson, Jockey's not dead.
And Jockey, that he lived his life like a candle in the wind. Like,
right.
That, except it was more like a blowtorch in a
gale.
hurricane.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Jockey.
Plus he's Scottish.
Plus, I would like to say his end of his life was so. I mean, it's just that movie that we watched about. It was so sad.
It's so sad.
So I'd like to come in there during one of the happy, full moments, like change my overall feeling about the jockster.
Something like late 70s Jockey.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, if the Yorkshire pub games were going on,
I'd have to switch my vote. It would be over there for that.
Okay,
I want to meet the guy doing the puzzle, the professional puzzle geek. He's got a big stein of booze. He's like doing that thing. Like that's what he does.
Christian Russell asks, what modern term in common use most annoys you? For example, mine is influencer.
I hate content and content creator. I hate both those.
Yeah, I'm gonna add consumer, like consuming content.
Yeah.
Like, talk about the worst way you could possibly describe somebody enjoying something.
Also, I'm not a real big fan of intellectual property either, especially in the wrong hands.
That one's been around for a while.
I don't like it, though. There's a lot of YouTube things that I hate. And sometimes you would use them, and then if I ever use them, I feel like an idiot. I'm like, oh, God.
Content is the worst.
Like, let's manage our content. Well, what are we doing?
Right.
What is that?
Right.
That makes it's like, I don't like it.
It commoditizes art.
Yeah.
And what we do is make art.
Is that what we're doing?
We make movies. We're like Vince.
Yeah, you saw how that went.
Batman asks, Blur or Oasis?
Well, I would probably go with Oasis.
Listen, I'm going to tell you guys something in the UK. Nobody knows anything about Blur.
Blur.
They had the one song, and they were a flash in the pan. They were
Oasis.
They're like America's version of Aqua.
No, they're a lot like America's version of Oasis. It's not like they had a ton of hits over here either.
Oasis had 1 billion hits over here.
A billion hits?
That album sold billions of copies.
That's not what he asked, though. I mean, what was their next album?
Wonderwall. Okay,
I know Wonderwall.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard the album, so I know.
Live Forever was a hit here, and that wasn't even on that album.
Okay.
Wonderwall. Don't Look Back in Anger. Champagne Supernova. All these songs got airplay. They were tons bigger than Blur.
That's more than Blur. I agree. No, I agree with you. I'm just saying it's not
then what are you arguing?
What I'm saying is Oasis was not nearly the super band here that it was in the UK.
Oh, no.
I mean, over here was
Blur was like a speck in the basketball size Oasis.
Oh yeah, Blur didn't. Yeah, I agree with that.
Blur is most famous for appearing. That song is in a lot of commercials. Woohoo! Big Chevy truck driving along.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Yeah,
that's the song.
That's the song.
Yeah. That is a good song though, because
that's why they made.
It's kind of a song. It's kind of like a song. It's more like a noise. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, you can't compare that to Oasis.
You're not wrong.
Those guys, they were the second coming of the Beatles. Remember all that hype?
Mm-hmm.
They fought just like the Beatles too.
Also, what is your least favorite retro storage medium?
That god awful storage for the QL comes to mind.
What was that?
The disc. The special tapes
it was a tape that ran at disc speed.
Yeah, those things. We did our show. I don't know if clearly you haven't seen it because I just released it. But I picked the QL as my least favorite machine of the last 100 episodes, and there were a multitude of reasons, but that's another reason. That machine was dead on arrival, and those godforsaken little cassettes, high-speed cassettes. The ColecoVision and Atom had high-speed cassettes too, but they were a lot more. They were actual cassettes, but they were sort of. That was a big mistake.
You are much more well versed in this than I am doing ARG, so I'm gonna adopt your answer as my own. Although for my own answer, I'd just say cassette because that sucks compared to a disc.
Yeah, that's true. I will say tape backup tape is also horrible. Yeah, when you actually had to make a tape backup.
My dad, when he bought our first modern PC, he sprung the extra. It was like an extra $1,000 for a tape backup. That was not a good move.
Me and the Chud used to commit mass piracy with those 200 meg tape backups. That's how we used to trade tapes.
Flack has 3 questions. Question number 1. Do you worry about our digital files like photographs surviving after we die?
No.
Me neither. Number 2. Tell me your favorite memory about a roller skating rink.
Oh, God. Well, I remember specific songs that I used to love when they'd come on. Centerfold, Jay Giles Band was my favorite. when that one came on. That's when you got out there and you really turned it on.
Sure. I love that song. We played in the band.
You know, the problem is I was like a nervous teenager at the skate arena, so a lot of my memories aren't the best. I remember later on we used to go to like a church thing, and then after church we would go to the skate arena in Canal City. Remember that one?
No.
Yeah,
I think that was Bulldoze by the time I was born.
No, I think it's still around actually.
Really?
And but we'd go up there and skate, and that was kind of fun. We were older, and I was a lot more comfortable about it. But the problem with skating is the falling. I was never good at skating. At some points I could get around the rink without dying.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what they say, skating, the trick to skating is throwing yourself at the ground and missing.
You know the thing about skating, it's odd. It's like it's hard with it. That's something to do for recreation. You know what I'm saying? I want you to put on these wheels and go out and fall over a lot on a hard surface. That sounds like a fun evening.
It's true. It's true. My favorite memory is I don't know. I used to go to the skate arena every Friday night.
You're one of those.
Every Friday night. And I remember going with my friend, now deceased. His name was TJ. He died in a car wreck when he was 18.
Oh, man.
I used to go, and then on the way back with his mom, we'd always go through the McDonald's drive-thru. And I got the old 2 cheeseburgers after a night of hard skating. I was also home to one of the first dates I ever went on with the Brent's wife.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I still remember the old couple skate. Remember that?
Yeah.
Holding hands, and it was what was the song for the Robin Hood soundtrack that Rod Stewart?
Whoever really love. No, that wasn't To Love a Woman. What was that one?
All for One.
All
and One
for
for
One.
Love.
Yeah.
I remember that, skating around with that.
Man, I hated that song. That's another one that Slide Line would come serenade me with back when I worked at IBM. That's another one.
But I have so many great memories of the skate arena. I loved going there.
Yeah.
Flack also asks, what is the oldest console or computer-related item you own?
Gosh, well, I do have an Atari 2600 in there. That would be in the running.
I would say it's the 2600. I mean, 77?
I don't have any Pong machines right now.
Oh, actually, I guess I do. I've got a Pong machine.
I've got some handhelds that are pretty old. You know, like no, that'd be newer. Yeah, I'd probably say it's probably the Atari. It's certainly the most functional old thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
I've got a Pong machine that's probably older, but it's non-functional because I don't have any of the stuff that goes with it. So
there you go.
Duncan asks, since you started the Amigos podcast, thank you, Duncan. He put in a checkpoint for me. I didn't notice that. We're nearing the end.
All right.
Since you started the Amigos podcast, has your review of the Amiga changed? If so, how?
Not really. I mean, honestly, it's always been a light, fun entertainment for me. You know, I always enjoyed it. The community, my attitude toward the community has changed a little bit, and you know, it's funny. Me and Bo can sort of separate ourselves because we're just literally are in it for the kicks. We don't do anything but play games. But it's fascinating for me to watch the rise of the hardware on it, especially since I have little to no interest in it. But it's still kind of neat to watch. But no, I still enjoy the Amiga now, probably more. The neat thing is, as the show's gone on, we play more and more obscure stuff, and I find myself sort of enjoying the obscurity of it all, because you sort of play the same things over and over, so it's kind of neat to play this more bizarre stuff.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Amiga was the doorway into the entire European scene of computers.
Yeah.
Because that was something that I never would have known about. Like, if we hadn't started Amigos, we never would have gotten, like, Gary Hucker would have never sent us that Spectrum. And that kicked off the whole Spectrum thing, because I would have never known about that stuff.
Yeah.
I guess I read about it in a Retro Gamer, but I would have never had any firsthand, knowledge of it. So, but other than that, I mean, I had no view of the Amiga before the podcast started. So I started out fresh, which was great.
Yeah.
All right. Super Tech Boy asks, have you ever had a patron song no one could identify? Yes.
Yes. Just last week we had one. That was easy to answer.
Number 2, what is Aaron's favorite Patreon song?
Gosh, I always go back to that godforsaken version
the Spice Girls?
Of the Spice Girls you did, because you were so liquored up, and it was so funny. But I'll look back on a lot of this because I did that highlight video that you did, and they're often horrible. I mean, they really are. But I do like I said, I mentioned this before because we've gotten this question before. I do like the ones where you actually play guitar. I like the ones you do with your bands too. Those are fun. So I like a bunch of those.
And the third question and the final question for Ask the Amigos comes from Super Tech Boy. He says, what was the hardest Patreon song for Boat to produce? I can tell you that very easily.
Yeah.
That was Listomania by Phoenix. That thing had like 6 guitar parts, and they were all incredibly hard. Like the opening riff. Having to do that for like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
That was no good. That sucked.
You guys have put together some real intricate stuff, too. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Good job on those. And good job for everybody helping them out.
Yeah.
That's like a week off when I see the band coming. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for Ask the Amigos this week. Thank you, as always, for all of our Discord community posting these questions. If you'd like to post your own question, you can support the page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast. We will see you next time. Until then, adios.